the way me and you react to that song, drastically different, I'm noticing.
Yes.
What's up, nerds? Welcome to the UNVAULTED Podcast. I'm your host, Squatingdog, but my suit tailor calls me Jerry. I am joined for today's episode with everybody's favorite past meridian. It's PM. On today's podcast, we are going to weigh what's going on with Season 7 for what it's worth, talk about the good, the bad, and the Chimera. What's up, PM?
I'm good. Outside of our technical issues, I'm doing pretty well.
That's great. You got a recent big change going on in your life.
Yes, I am a new homeowner, so I am trying to survive that part of my life. It is hectic, to say the least, but I do enjoy it.
That's great, man. Yeah, it's not too many people can say that they own a house, so that's a big deal.
And I would highly recommend you don't buy a house in this market.
Yeah.
highly recommend.
Wood costs are crazy. You can't even build a house in this market. Like, it's nuts right now.
No, you can't.
Just hide in your apartment complexes. Before we get started, PM, got a really pressing matter, and I wanted to make sure we have a word from our sponsors, which we don't have. But speaking of sponsors, PM, what do you imagine when we finally arrive across that bridge? What do you imagine our very first sponsor of this podcast will be?
It's got to be... I mean, outside of the standard, I think G Fuel and, gaming peripheral kind of stuff, I think if we're going to go out there, it's going to be like a dog product. Like a dog bone, or like a flavor of dog food, something like that. I could see that for sure. I
can't tell you the amount of DMs I get from like on Instagram or whatever, just like, we have this really cool leash and we think you would be a perfect candidate for our product. I'm like,
yeah, just because dog pops up and they're like, oh, this is perfect.
So yeah, well, I'm gonna dream a little bit bigger. I'm going Tesla, easy. Imagine with me, if you will, doing a podcast in a Tesla. Just saying.
That sounds like my worst nightmare for acoustics, but that would be awesome.
Aren't like the seats made out of pure joy and like insulation? Wouldn't it be perfect?
I mean, knowing Elon Musk, he's gonna find a way to be like, I put a recording studio inside of a Tesla.
Yeah, and I'll be there for it.
Break the internet. Yeah, and like Travis Scott's next album's gonna be in there.
Can't wait. So if you're listening Tesla, Elon, feel free. But yeah, chat, just let us know, what products you want here to advertise, because we have a good like whole segment here that is planned but doesn't have any meat. So just let me know. Well, let's move on to what we're talking about today. I hope you're ready for the newest segment on this podcast. It's called My Fans. Definitely only my fans. Please, God, don't embarrass me. And I went through the Twitter and tried to find some people that wanted us to answer some questions about what's going on with this new season. And boy, did you guys deliver. So we're going to go through a few of those questions and try to hit lore, try to hit the map changes, and of course, aliens. So it should be a lot of fun. You ready for it, PM?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, so the very first question we got was from Henry, DO6. And he asked this. I'd like to know the current status of the storyline, the Batman comics, possible map changes, side lore, henchmen, and the Fortnite crew, Loki. And Henry, that is a lot to ask of us, so we are not going to answer any of those. I'm just playing. We'll go through each one of those individually. But like you, Henry, Percival also was like, hey, I really want to know about the Batman comics and maybe more of a deep analysis on how the loop and the underground works, especially the 0 point in the latest issue, lore, etc. I'm in love with the lore, but what's happening now and how it's tied to the aliens, I'm a little confused. Yes, that's a great question. And I think a majority of the Fortnite audience is probably like you, Percival, a little confused. PM, do you have the comics?
No, I don't personally have the comics.
Okay, but have you been getting into it? Do you know what's going on? Do you have the lore?
I haven't been. I mean, I heard about, I think, the first couple when he came to the island, and didn't know much about what was going on. And he ran into, was it Catwoman? Did I say that right?
Yep.
I'm not a big DC guy. I'm more Marvel, but
Sure.
I think it is really interesting how they did that. I haven't kept up with it after that point. I have a lot of my own personal opinions on this kind of lore that I'm going to say, but I'm going to let you go first to get your stuff out of the way.
Well, I feel like you're a perfect candidate for this in the sense of like, okay, like not as tracked, so let's try to make sense of it, right? Like together. I have all the comics. I'm also like you, more of a Marvel fan, but love Batman, and I want to see all of these collaborations succeed on Fortnite, because Fortnite's a really great place for all of this to succeed. But yeah, it's like there is this weird thing with Fortnite where it's kind of like they just go, it's a different dimension, and then like and then pluck everything that they did and plop new stuff, and we're like left kind of with our mouth open like, one, that was a great, video, whatever, like great season, great like cinematic, great like trailer for Loki, but then we're kind of left with this like, but how does this all come together?
Yeah, I go and that's where what I was gonna say comes in, that I don't understand what they're doing. The whole Batman thing was teased all last season. Yep. With comics, with bunker reveals, with the skin coming into the game again, with certain items coming into the game, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, we're done with that.
Right.
And it's like, oh, what?
Right. Yeah.
And then I'm left here going like, okay, I understand Loki's in the game now because it goes with the show. It makes sense, but like it just doesn't feel like it's tying in. It almost feels like there's like contractual obligations that they have to hit, and they're just trying their best to not make it seem like that.
Yeah, it kind of feels like when you leave your apartment to go to another one, you have to take all your stuff out of the apartment and fill it in the new one, and the next person that's coming in is going to fill the space, and they're like, hey, DC, you can't leave your living room with full of your stuff. You got to get it out because Marvel's coming in. It kind of has that vibe of like, okay, next tenant, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And where I realized that the most was the actual dedicated Marvel season, when they did all the Marvel skins for the Battle Pass, and that was great, but then they also had like DC releases like linked into it, and I'm just like, this doesn't feel like it's genuine. Like, it just feels like you're cutting a paycheck, which, get your money, I don't care, but like it just didn't feel like it was real, like authentic.
I almost feel like what I think they're trying to do, this is to Epic's credit, I think they can get a lot of harsh like words with this. But I would also say these are the people that brought us multiplay to where a PlayStation and an Xbox player can play together. These are the same people. They care about an ecosystem where everybody thrives. And I think what is happening is it's kind of like they have a bunch of kids and they're like trying to get them to do one thing together. Like let's take a group family photo. If you've ever taken a group family photo, you know how painful these things can be. It's only a second. You just need 1 second. Yeah. But, your uncle's looking at the view, your sister can't shut up their kid. Like, it's just chaos. And so I think that's what they're trying to do. They're kind of like, hey, DC, hey, Marvel, wouldn't it be amazing if there was a world in which you both got to live, because you live in the hearts of young kids all over the place, and they already imagine this with their, with their action figures? Like, what if we had a place where everyone could exist and we can kind of have fun with that? And I feel like the only person that's gotten away with that is barely Legos. And Fortnite's embarking on this. And so, Xbox shows up with Master Chief and they're like, well, I've got some requirements. Nintendo's not even here, which says a lot about Nintendo because, of course, they probably have so many thoughts. And so it's like they just want everybody to look in the same, like, let's just take the picture. It's kind of falling apart, but not falling apart, but it's just like there's all of these expectations that each of these companies have of their IPs, and they want them to be glorified really well. And Epic's kind of going, that's a smaller picture, like there's a bigger picture here. And so I think that's what they're going for. And so they're going to work with whatever they can get. If Marvel's like, hey, we want our own season, and they're like, great, we've done research, we know our kids love Marvel, but what about DC? Like, no DC in the item shop at all within this window, like that's kind of what they're dealing with. And they're like, okay, we'll play along with this, but I think they have the bigger picture in mind for the future.
There's definitely something in the contracts that state that you can't, mix the storylines per se. Or else that would be like think about it. Like, DC right now is actually doing a great job with trying to make Fortnite like the lore of it outside of the game, like in the actual comics as like the actual story. And like you could only imagine if DC and Marvel started interacting, and like you have to explain that to the people that don't play Fortnite. Right. And that's like a cardinal sin. It's like Adidas and Nike collaborating. It's like you just can't do that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's interesting. But yet we have Puma, we have Nike, and what? We don't have Adidas yet. No, do we? In the I don't know if we have Adidas yet. But like we have Puma and Nike in the same universe already too, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Eventually I feel like there's going to be like this like aha moment where people like hopefully these businesses kind of get it. Like we're fueling the dreams of children. They're like hopefully they're like, okay, as long as I make money and like that happens, like that'd be kind of cool.
Could you imagine if like in 20 years we look back on this and we're like, Fortnite was the greatest collaborator in history of branding? Mm-hmm. Like Fortnite was the reason why all these brands like Adidas and Nike who didn't like each other all of a sudden got together and did something.
It'd be insane.
Like that would be a cultural phenomenon. And I mean, it already is, but that would pretty much solidify it. So
absolutely. Well, to get back to our question, so Percival, Henry, both were asking about Batman, how the 0 point, all that stuff is going on. So essentially, to bring you up to speed, PM, we've got Batman getting rifted into the island, him not knowing, can't remember anything. He starts writing stuff on his body because he's starting to realize he's looping. So
yes, that I've seen.
Every time he loops, he writes something new, gives himself more information, runs into Catwoman, who also got rifted in, and they have a bond that that goes beyond memory. And so they feel like they're connected. They feel like they know each other. They feel these things. So the island and the reset doesn't reset everything. It kind of like resets kind of what you're thinking. And then you go back to scratch. So they eventually find a way to escape, and to escape simply meant like to win a match of Fortnite. So when you win, you're the last person alive. You get to escape the loop, which means you now are flooded with all of your memories from all of the times you've looped for those 22 minutes on repeat for, years or whatever. And so once he escapes, they essentially, there's a band of them that have escaped, and they've been trying to figure out how to get off the island. So they go on an adventure. They eventually find an underground bunker where the IO is, and they battle their way through a series of groups of IO guards and like big weird like rock people, and befriend Deathstroke along the way, and then make their way to where we see Jonesy jump in what was that, season 6? Is that the trailer? Where he jumps in and like goes through the portal and starts like grabbing, some of our beloved favorite characters across gaming platforms. So it's that same room, and they learn how to figure out how to essentially hook up one's energy. What did they call it? Their own dimensional energy. So each person has a different dimensional energy. So they look at this like massive 0 point hidden behind this wall, and everybody's favorite Voyager jumps right into it and dies, and his body gets separated across dimensions. And they're all like, okay, so that's not the way to do it. So that guy's not coming back, probably deleted from the game. And seriously, what they figure out is they need to harness their own dimensional energy, shoot it at a panel shoots inside of the 0 point, and it opens up where they're from. So they're like big brain in it with Batman. Batman then like sends a few of them into their dimensions. It works. He's stoked. And then of course, Batman, being the greatest detective alive, looks at Deathstroke and is like, I think we don't need you anymore, essentially. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he's like some spy or something. So Deathstroke and Batman and Catwoman get into this fight. Deathstroke escapes from their like capture and jumps into the 0 point with Jonesy's portal gun, calls it a compass, and gets out of there. And then as he's going back, I'm imagining middle fingers in the sky, goes through the portal and says, well, at least you have each other. And then boom, that's the end of episode 5. There's a lot of speculation of episode 6. There's a lot of people talking about what episode 6 looks like. We can get into that if we want, but essentially what is happening and what Fortnite is kind of communicating is you're trapped on this island from a different dimension. This centerpiece, this 0 point, is the connecting piece, like all freeways go through this one channel. And if you connect it correctly by using the technology that the IO is harnessed, Jonesy is harnessed, and now Batman is figured out, you can then go to whatever dimension you're looking for and pull and pluck. So these are, the IO is essentially like this puppeteering group of people that have been experimenting with other champions on this island of Fortnite by being able to leave and come to this area as if it's their mothership of whatnot. And so then what happens is we get season 7 and an alien ship shows up, blasts apart what we thought was super important, the Spire, rips the Foundation, the Rock Johnson, out of it somehow, and he plunges into the ocean, and now we have Sloane, and it's just aliens are here. So this is where that shift that we were talking about earlier, where it's like we're going from like 5 to 2, and it's like, well, what? Okay, so what about all of the stuff? Like, where's Jonesy? He's in a cow outfit, like out on a pasture somewhere. Like, that is the shift we're all feeling when we were like, wait a minute, we have so much lore. And what's great about these comics is they are building up the lore of Fortnite and informing Fortnite for what's happening. Yet we're left with this like unfamiliar or familiar adjustment to a new season, where obviously cash grab Epic Games, but also some of us are like, I want more. I want to know how that works. And I think that's where we get confusion. And there was a lot of Twitter requests for me to talk about this because they're like, so what? Like, is he gone now? Like, what's the deal? And he's somewhere in the ocean. So hopefully we'll be able to find him soon.
But there is something exciting about the fact that no one knows. Because then I think you're more like, it's just easier to be surprised. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe this season compared to the last 2, we're going to start seeing more surprises in each update. Maybe not this one currently because they're on quote unquote vacation for the next 2 weeks. But I think every update you'll see going forward is going to be something big. And I wonder if maybe that was calculated, because there's kind of been this thing in the last few seasons where the updates weren't really there. Like, they would give you the things and you're like, oh, okay, thanks for the recycler. Like, really appreciate that. And then this last one, they're like, and here's a whole new way to play the game. Yeah. And you're just like, what? And then they're like, yeah, take that. take it. And you're like, cool. Okay, what else? And now they're like, okay, maybe we have the Foundation coming up. Where's Jonesy? We don't know. What about Batman? And I just feel like they left all these cliffhangers for that reason, to kind of save themselves.
I also feel like it's kind of like if the island is the main character of this movie, things start to make a little bit more sense. It's like the island is kind of like this bus that like stops at different stops and is like, all right, Marvel, get in. And Marvel gets in and they're like, we're going here. And then now you're out, get out. And then they get out. And they're like, okay, Foundation, get in. You know, like, and it's like this this moving piece that like essentially is like, it's ... on what happened with Marvel, but now we're on to something else and we'll pick up Marvel again. But like right now, that's not the thing. And so it's kind of like if we're looking at the island as the main character, things start to make a little bit more sense rather than Jonesy or Sloan or whatever. They're kind of like, they get on the bus and they're chilling for a little bit, but then they're going to bounce soon. And so that attachment we have for, in general, in movies is like to attach ourselves to a character, where I feel like what Epic's trying to train us in is to attach ourselves to the island itself.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting about Aliens is we all love Aliens. Like, why not? There's tons of like collaborations that can do with Aliens, but essentially what we're at right now is an alien ship shows up, feels pretty hostile, at least at first, but then they essentially have these crafts that allow you to teleport. Now, here's the thing that I was like very confused on. We got the new season, and I was like, okay, like a lot of cool guns, a lot of new mechanics, but when it came to the map, I was like, hello? Like, did we do anything? Like, there was this we have the new farm, which is like great, you know, a lot of people love farms in Fortnite.
How many times have they changed that farm?
So many times.
Like, how many times are they going to keep changing it before we're like, dude, this stop? Like, come on, stop.
Well, there's like 14 named POIs, 13, 12, 14 named POIs. You know, it changes based off of what they want to name. Stealthy Stronghold gets a name, then they take it away from it. Rip, you know. But like, there's 14, and we got one POI change. And then what I would say is we got a reskin. I wouldn't even say it's a new POI. We got a reskin of Believer's Beach. And that's kind of frustrating.
It was frustrating, I think, because if you were like us and you know, we follow the leaks leading up to the season release, there were the Tilted Towers, you know, pictures, hints, teasers, and you were like, oh my goodness, Tilted Towers is coming back, this is great, like yada yada yada. And then you get into the map and you load the map up and you realize it's just Believer Beach. Is I'm blanking on the name of it before, but it's pretty much the same thing. And you're just like, okay, this is weird. And then Coral's still there.
Yep.
Like, for some reason it's still there. And they got to do something quick. They got to do something.
I think what we've been asking for, I think a majority of the Fortnite audience is like, can we just have regular changes to the map? And so they have this like alien ship that you can see on your mini map, shadowed out, you know, like moving around, creeping. It's making its way to Coral. A lot of people are speculating Coral's going to get, you know, ripped apart because Hypex, whatever he tweets, is pretty much god tier to most people.
In my favorite part is Epic is taking the long way to do it.
Right, yeah. They're
like, we're going to go all the way around the right.
Yeah, we were already in the middle of the map to take out the Spire, but we're going to do a nice little, like, yeah. But so my thought is like, why does it have to take that long? And when we got the next update, you know, week 2 update, we then got those abductor crafts that like essentially like teleported you to the mothership. We got like all of this crazy content that felt like it was supposed to be at the beginning of the season.
At the beginning, yeah.
That it's almost like they didn't care about the beginning of the season as much, and they're trying to care in groups of 4 weeks or something like that. Like every 4 weeks, we're going to do something significant to this season, which that change of pace would be good if the beginning of the season didn't feel so short. Like it just felt very small in comparison to some other seasons where it's like, whoa, there's so much to explore. There's like 4 or 3 different POIs, yada, yada, yada. Where now it's like this season, it was like, okay, I went to the farm. Everyone dropped there. It was like a risky real situation at the beginning of the season. And then it's normalized out. But now it seems like they might be moving in this way, which I think would be pretty good for us. But I think they still have to figure out the beginning of the season a little bit better than they have.
Yeah, and I think the thing that Epic and Fortnite do the best is patience. Is they really like to drag things out and build the hype over months and weeks and days. For things, I think they do a phenomenal job at that. They don't want to give you everything at once because they know if they do that, you're not going to care about the game in a year.
Yep.
So they do a great job of keeping things suspenseful. But at a certain point, you can't be the tease. Like, you can't tease everything. Like,
yeah, right.
You know, you changed the map over a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, whenever it was, close to 2 years now. And this map is fine. I have no problems with it compared to the old one, but you need to make changes before people get upset.
Totally.
And like drastic changes, not just like, oh, we changed the farm in Coral. It's like, no, you need to like completely change things and make it new and exciting. I do go back and I've said this to people close to me before. I wonder how much COVID threw things for a loop.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And how they might have had this huge plan for chapters. I mean, we've talked about the incredibly long chapters that were prior to these ones that were like months too long. I just wonder if they are so far behind because of that. They're trying to play catch up, but they don't want to do it too quickly. And I don't know if we'll see a new map. I don't think for a while, because maybe they just couldn't do it.
I feel like they are catching up. And how I see this is in challenges. Last season's challenges was like, go, eliminate somebody at this location. And
with an SMG.
Yeah, like here's a chest, open one. It's like, I know how to open chests, Epic. Like, this isn't a challenge. This is just normal. And then this season they brought legendary challenges where like there's a story, there's like new things added, and it's like there's like it's pushing the narrative forward. Where in the past it's been like so dull, and so I think we are starting to see those changes. I think people are starting to adapt to COVID, but yeah, I think for the amount of money Epic Games makes, I'm surprised that they don't have the overhead to just do some of these things that we are really requesting. And I think what they did to kind of distract us was like, hey, look at all of these cool heroes cosmetic wise. And of course, any fanboy, fangirl is going to be stoked about that. But that's going to last a day, a week, a few weeks at most. To like, I'm actually, like this character, I'm actually an alien, like whatever it is. And that isn't going to cause people to come back again and again and again. And so there has to be this balance between like, you can't just like, hold out a dangling carrot and expect us to follow you through the whole season. I had more people playing Apex and other games this season or last season than I had ever had in my friend group. Because of that reality. You can't do that. That's not the best way to go about it. Even though it's fan service to people who love those things, it's not going to cause people to keep playing.
Yeah, and I mentioned this the last time I was on the podcast with you, that I don't like it when games do the most or do too much. I think last season is a great example of Fortnite did too much with the the way they did the upgrade system, the side grading, the crafting system. I think it was just too much. And a lot of people saw that and they were like, look, I fell in love with this game because it was simple and there wasn't a whole lot to it. And so I love the fact that Fortnite in a way has gone back to being simple, but unique. And I think the alien ship in the beginning of the game is genius.
Totally. It's so much fun.
it's not like I'm having to play Minecraft to get a better gun. Like I'm actually playing a game to get a better gun. And I don't know, like I've had more fun this last 2 weeks playing this game than I've had in the last like 6 months.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%. Last season, dude, was the worst.
Arenas. I don't play arenas right now because of the spaceship. Like I love it so much. Like people are like, "Hey, do you want to play trios?" And I'm like, "Yeah, maybe later." But I actually really want to like play pubs.
Honestly, I don't know if it's because of my distaste for season 6 or what, but this season is the most amount of fun I've had in the game for sure. Like just in terms of mechanics, new guns, enough like the balance of releasing stuff in a way that they have so far. I'm pretty impressed with their ability to keep people excited to play. And that that mini game, I don't even know what it's technically called, that experiment that everybody gets where you can get gold weapons is like, that's nuts. That's like pretty overpowered, especially if you know what you're doing in that little like blast zone. Yeah,
my friend groups and I have discovered that what you should do is just go for time.
Yeah.
Just go for time, especially if you have 4, get as much time as you can. Just be the last one and just hope that no one opened up all the chests.
Yep.
That's kind of the least frustrating way to go about it.
Yep. So, with all this being said, I got another question that we got was Nick at name says, first of all, how you doing? Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for asking. And second, how do you think the mothership will affect the island? And what are your speculations for the rest of the season's lore? These are great questions. What do you think, PM?
I don't know. Like we just mentioned and talked about, they're doing such a good job with keeping this closed lip and not having any, I mean, outside of Coral Castle being exposed for being destroyed, there's really nothing that we could sit here and be like, yeah, this makes the most sense. Like, we have no idea why it's here. No, like there wasn't any build up to an alien ship coming to the season outside of just the little UFOs. Like, I have no idea what it's going to do. My hope is it blows the map up and we get a new map, but we won't know that until it happens.
Yeah. I think what is really cool about this season is the idea that you can go to Lazy Lake every time. That might be your drop spot, to get as many kills as possible. But Lazy Lake can feel like a different experience if there are aliens there or if there is one of those mega crafts that teleports you there. It changes up that, like, you can't just easily repeat that. Like, it's going to be the same experience. I drop on this chest, I go to this chest, I kill this guy, and then I slay out. It's like, nope, now aliens are abducting the people that you're trying to shoot. Like, it changes each experience, which I think is the thing that a lot of people aren't recognizing is happening. It's like your experience just got amplified because of that mechanic. And like, I love that. I think that should be a highlighted feature about Fortnite, because when you play, I mean, they introduced these like, do you remember the loot boxes, those hovering loot boxes? I think season might have been 7 of chapter 1, where there's these like hovering boxes of loot, and if you shot them down, you would get like really good guns really quickly. So some people would go to those spots for that. That's essentially what's happening now, just in like a vamped version of it. But like, if I'm going to my classic Misty Meadow spot, I can have a different Misty Meadow experience based off of what shows up. Yeah, which is really, really cool.
It is exciting. It does. I think this is the first time since playing this game that I don't remember the beginning of a game. Like actually landing, matting up, getting a gun, fighting. Like I've gone to a spaceship every single time. Because I'm like, I don't want to do anything else. Like it's the best way to get the guns. It's the most fun, and it gets rid of that dull 10-15 minute period where like nothing happens.
Yeah.
And I think the thing a lot of people overlook with the UFOs is it it helps the late game situation because like 40 people go up, right?
Something like that.
Or something like that, and then 40 people come out in like the third or second zone.
Yep.
So no one's dying immediately. People are still surviving throughout the game. So it makes the end games hectic.
Yep. And they have good stuff too, which is awesome. And when you blast out of the ship, you're not technically overpowered because you didn't have enough time to get mats and you didn't have enough time to get ammo. But you can also drop on anybody at any place on the map. It's like if you're like, oh, there's a guy, I'll just take his stuff. Like, it's crazy. So it does create, really new ways to play the game. And I think, that beginning part of the typically more dull, where I'm looking for a shotgun for the first like 10 minutes of the game, it speeds it up a little bit, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and then the most satisfying noise is that horn when someone comes out of the ship. Dude, it sounds so good. Every time I hear it, I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to hear. Yeah,
that's great. So that's what we think. I think the mothership will probably circle around, take out Coral Castle, and I don't know, like, lore implications. Like, Io is like fighting it off, but like, I don't know how that's going to work in terms of storyline. I mean, Superman, I think, is going to play a part because we're getting him and we have to wait for that skin for a long time. And so maybe he comes in and just flies through the ship like Captain Marvel did in Endgame. But I don't know. I feel like Superman might be the key to saving the planet.
Imagine if he saves Coral Castle.
Oh my gosh. Fish Stick is like crying.
No one wants you here.
What I want from Coral Castle is this. I want the alien ship to, instead of destroy it, I want it to turn it into a gravity zone where like Coral Castle is lifted into the sky and is kind of shaking and rumbling, but it's like within anti-gravity or low gravity area. I think that would be way more fun.
Yeah, what was the there was I'm blanking on the lake that was in chapter 1 that had it, where you would fly up to it.
The Comet also had it too.
Yeah. They had that a lot in chapter 1. So I'm assuming like if they did that, that'd be super cool. I did see a concept today of it turning into like a theme park, and I thought that was really sick.
Oh man, that'd be amazing.
But we'll see.
Okay. Well, so that's what we think. Crow Tweet 3 asks, what's up with the Foundation and when will he return again?
I have no idea. They short sold us that. I feel like
totally.
And maybe not. Maybe this is what they wanted to do, and it's going to be some big reveal at the end of the season.
I just hope it's like he has oxygen, because he's underwater. That guy's not going to be able to swim in like however heavy that suit is. That guy's going to be dead.
I worry that they're taking too long with his storyline or their storyline, and that
they're milking it
when it does. Like they're milking it too much, and that when it does come to its final end, people are gonna be like, oh, okay.
I have big plans for them. I hope. I really do.
I hope too. I really do too. I just don't want them to keep milking it. Because they've been milking this since like literally season 3 of like chapter 1. So like let's get this ball rolling a little bit.
Yeah, all the teasers for Aliens, a lot of people also thought it was just the 7. So I wonder if they got to be doing something with it. Like they aren't like stumbling across it. They definitely have plans. I just think it's it's just kind of like sprinkled on top of the story rather than really emphasized.
Yeah.
So Techno G asks, was Dr. Sloan revealed too early? What are your thoughts about her character as a whole? Dr. Sloan. So for those that don't know who Dr. Sloan is, Dr. Sloan she's got the sweet afro and sick like outfit. You can edit a bunch of edit styles. She's kind of like, I think, the first battle pass skin you can get. And she's like a genius. Like she's like there's tons of lore about her in the game, of her just being super smart, super incredible. And so I think she's hiding more than she's letting on. And apparently in the last Spider-Man, I wish, Batman comic, she's going to be heavily a part of what's going on with that. So apparently that's going to be happening as well. And we'll see about that stuff. I think, like I said about the bus analogy, I think she's getting on the bus. She's going to get off the bus. But Io has been, a part of this for a long time, and she's kind of like a part of Io. So she might be playing a way bigger role than we're letting on here. But I'm excited about her character. I'm excited about her being added. And I think we need a lot more characters interacting with each other, kind of like Friends or something, like where there's like multiple really awesome characters all vouching for like the spotlight any given season.
Yeah, to go back to the if it's too early, I don't know if it's too early. It's because we don't know the end of the story yet to really say that, but I do think that they gave us the little teaser last season reveal, right? When it was the final season, and we were like, who is this? Like, we have no idea who is it. Like what's going on here? We don't get this. And all of a sudden they just give us the skin. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I thought you would do a little more with it. But again, if there's a greater purpose out there and a reasoning for it, then I'm going to hold off on saying if it's too early or not.
Yeah, definitely. Gal Rav asks, can you talk about the fact that the Shadow and Ghost henchmen got yeeted off the mothership? Does this mean we'll get some old location backs to the island? So for what he's talking about, if you did not know, when you got abducted by the mothership, our two favorite henchmen, one Ghost, one Shadow, they became friends a couple chapters back or seasons back, and their friendship has just blossomed. They're just love each other. They're best friends, and they're hanging out quite a lot. So we thought they were gone, but no, the mothership swooped them up, and they were in that little area with the mothership, and the mothership yeeted them, and they are now at the south side of the map in a cabin together, hanging out, having a good time, interacting with each other. One of them is anti. 7, which is funny that we were just talking about that. One of them pulls out like the anti-7 sign, is like, I hate them, and then the other one like does the laugh it up emo at them. So they have like a fun little narrative going on with them each other. So maybe he hates the 7 because they're the reason why they went to the mothership. I don't know. There's a lot to speculate there, but it's really fun. These are, I call this like side lore. It's just off to the side. It's just fun little stories that are kind of growing over time. Also, if you look at the hut, or not the hut, the sheriff area, he built his little sheriff shack, and then gnomes started getting imprisoned. He started like finding all the gnomes on the map and started imprisoning them. There's like these like cool little side lores that are going on that I think are really special and make, add to the charm of Fortnite, that if you're really looking, you'll find, but if you're not paying attention, it's no big deal either. So I think it's just like the people that are changing the map, that have the ability to do so, are just having a lot of fun on the side, kind of putting Easter eggs there for us to be excited to talk about those things, because the Fortnite community really eats that stuff up.
Yeah, I agree with that. I also want to throw in a conspiracy theory with it, though.
Oh, cool.
I think that is a massive foreshadowing for every POI that is in the mothership right now, and you know what I'm talking about, the Butter Barn, Sunny Steps, the pirate ship. I think it is a foreshadowing that eventually the mothership's going to spit those out.
I hope so.
And I don't see why they would randomly throw the henchmen out that they were harmless and people love to just shoot them off the edge anyways. Why they would drop them and then make it such like a, oh yeah, they're there, by the way, in case you want to go see them. And like, I just feel like there's something bigger behind that.
Yeah. I mean, if they spit out the henchmen, well, maybe it's because we kept shooting them off the edge, but
that's true.
It would be really cool.
Shoot Butter Barn.
Yeah, just destroy it. It would be really cool if it just like and shot out like the Butter Barn back in its location, because we have a massive hole right there. I'd rather it just be the Butter Barn, like Butter City or something.
Imagine like every other month, like the pirate ship all of a sudden falls out and lands where it was before. The Sunny Steps all of a sudden lands on top of like a Slurp factory or something like that.
I blame all the people that like hated on the Butter Barn. There's people out there, and I blame you if you're listening and you hated the Butter Barn and you were like, "Oh, it's so lame, it's so cheesy, whatever." You're the reason, okay? You're the reason why it's gone. And luckily, UFOs saved our lives, and they're bringing it back. So,
have you gone inside the Butter Barn in the ship?
Yeah, with the creepy music.
It's eerie. It's so good. They are doing such great sound design this season, but I still can't hear footsteps behind me when someone's coming up on me. So fix that. That'd be great.
My camera. I'm having some camera and technical difficulties. If you guys are on the live client, hang on one second. My goodness gracious! All right, we're back. Yeah, that's I want the Butter Barn back. Bring them back, better than ever.
Yeah.
Okay, so McDoodle wants us to talk about how good the skins are this season, and I couldn't agree more. PM, what are your thoughts?
I think the Dr. Slow one is a home run. I mean, that's the best skin I've seen them do in a long time. I am getting a real solid hatred for the bunny skin.
Gujimon.
Yeah, that is now turning into the soccer skin for me.
Yeah, it's true.
And anytime I see it, I like make it a point to go out there and try to kill it. I think they did well. I think they did well because there's no extreme collaborations. I think it's unique and it's their own designs.
No extreme collaboration. What about Rick and Morty, bro?
Well, like the Rick and Morty one's great, but it's not like the Marvel seasons where the entire battle pass was, or like the first skin was the Mandalorian or, something like that. Like they had the Rick and Morty skin and that was great, but the main skins of what they made were kind of what they focused on. You could tell.
Yeah. See, what's funny is about you even saying that, I was like, being an extreme Marvel fanboy, the Marvel season was incredible. I loved the Marvel season. I loved it so much, man. But a lot of people, have that type of stigma of man, it is just so bad. And I was thinking to myself, I would have to imagine what it would be like for me to not like a season. Like it would have to be like maybe a rugby season or something that I'm not like connected with. Golfing. Yeah. Like you can be Tiger Woods and I would totally feel.
But even then I would still do it. That'd be cool. Like if Tiger Woods had a skin, I'd be like, that is sick. Like what are you talking? That's really cool.
But I mean, for Marvel people, they're probably like, on Cloud 9, it probably brought in a lot of new kids to play the game. Yeah. It's just hard for me to think of like, why not? Other than like, man, it was so fun. Like we had so much fun that season. There was a lot of really cool ways that they brought in Marvel into Fortnite. And there's a part of me that loved that. But I can also try and like imagining like a golf season pass. I'd probably be bummed about it.
Yeah, no, that would not sell well. The season pass, if every single skin was golf, would not. But a Tiger Woods skin, that would be huge.
Icon, man. We're going to get a ton of them.
Yeah.
Just the beginning. Yeah, so I agree, McDoodle. The skins are amazing this season. They did such a great job. I think one of my personal favorites is Sloan. But then I've been having a lot of fun with Joey as well. That switches between male and female counterpart.
Yeah.
And that dynamic, I think we're going to see be played out for a bunch of skins to come, which will be really, really rad.
Yeah, and I love the NBA skins. That's been my thing since I'm a Portland Trailblazer fan, so that's been the one I've been going with heavy.
And Zeus El Cozo really loves the Chimera best battle skin. He writes, can you talk about how Chimera is the best battle pass skin this season?
I can't because I don't think it is. I mean,
I love the customization. There's like literally one on there that he's got like a mullet. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
There's like, you can really have some fun with it. And I've already had a blast making mine. But I think that type of customization is always really, really desired in the Fortnite community, where it's like, you get soccer skins, but then you can change the number, you can change the colors, those types of things. I think a lot of people desire that stuff, and I'm glad we have something this season for that as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's needed. They needed some customization, but I don't know. I'm not a bulky skin kind of guy, so
Yeah.
Not my thing.
Brandon Simone 29 asks thoughts on how they seem to be handling content this season, and then a very snarky actually having it. Lol.
I think they hit it on the head right there. They actually have it.
What are your thoughts, PM?
I mean, I think they had content last season, but I think it was content that didn't fit what a lot of people wanted to do. I think what made Fortnite great in its early days was everybody was playing it and all your friends were playing it, and so it was fun. I think last season compared to this season, it just wasn't fun for a lot of people, and the content really died because of that. I think this season with the railgun, with the UFOs, with the mothership now, there's just so many things you can do with people that it makes content come naturally.
Totally. And what's interesting to me is, like, if you really think about last season, it was like, let's give everybody the worst weapon in the game and they can build their favorite weapon in the game. But you're starting off with a really horrible experience that hopefully becomes better if you get the right stuff, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. And this season, they're like, at the very beginning of the game, let's have them play a small mini game, and they can get all of the things they ever want or are looking for in the game right at the beginning. That's crazy. And that's the difference that I feel from the pacing for sure. They were like, okay, maybe the idea was awesome. Crafting, all that stuff. That's awesome. But the implication of it is just that you're going to have a bad time at the beginning. And if you can't find the things you're looking for already, you're not going to have a good time for a majority of the game. And so that's what makes the last season for me really annoying. And then I also think the reality of the pacing of a season pass is interesting to me, where this season I feel like it's so much easier to get experience. Last season, it was really hard. And I've said this before on this podcast. I think what they do is they do that intentionally. And this is just my speculation. I don't know if this is true or not. My thought is like, if you're anxious that you're not going to get all the cosmetics you want, you'll buy tiers. And so if you have an experience at some point in time in the last 3 seasons where you did not accomplish or get the cosmetics you wanted, the next season you're going to buy tiers. And then that kind of repeats on itself. So I think it's like a subtle way to get people to purchase more Battle Pass stuff at the beginning of a season, with the anxiety of like, I don't know if this season's going to be extended. I don't know if I can accomplish all the things I want. There's a lot of people really worried about not finishing their Chimera outfits and being able to unlock everything they want. And I think Fortnite does this maybe strategically in order to get people to buy more, is my guess.
Yeah, there's definitely some thought there behind that.
Yeah. Andrew Bleach, we only have a few more questions here. Please talk about the UFOs and the summer cosmic maps for the challenges being all sweaty and very subpar. For those that don't know what Andrew's talking about, there is an event going on, summer cosmic vibe, where you have to play creative maps. On those creative maps, when you accomplish goals, you then get really cool rewards. So I'll start there. Really cool summer event rewards. Probably some of the best ones we've gotten, like free, right? Like all you have to do is play the game. But what's ironic and kind of infuriating is the maps that they chose are super grindy and super sweaty. So if you're just like a dad that has like 3 kids and they all play Fortnite and they all want these rewards, speaking of somebody from my chat, you are in for, a week and a half of horror, because you have to, land headshots or like kill somebody in an airplane, like really ridiculous things that like really are grindy. And the maps that they chosen aren't even hand tailored to the summer cosmic vibe. It's just popular maps that have always been popular since the beginning of the game. And so it's kind of a bummer, I would say, that they had all of these really cool cosmetics, but they implemented it towards maps that like are highly, highly, highly sweaty and like not very fun for a user's experience. And I feel like that's the miss. I think it was like amazing cosmetics, but probably the implementation of the maps that they chose were probably not that great. Or did it feel very strategic?
Yeah.
Unless the strategy is just to get people to be playing creative. If that's the strategy, then they have succeeded.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. And then Grill asks, talk about how cool I am in immense detail. Okay. Let me go ahead and do that right now. Okay. Corrupted Human asks how there's a difference in play between comp and pubs. Great question. Great question. PM?
Oh, okay. I like the fact that they are, I think going forward, they should only do seasonal updates, like major season updates to pubs, leave comps alone. Because it just seems like every time there's a new season, everything gets put into every playlist, arena, solo, squads, pubs, whatever you want to say. And people love it. People love it for 2 days. And then all of a sudden the competitive side comes in and just starts complaining. Non-stop crying, complaining for like 4 days, right? Mm-hmm. And then Fortnite goes, okay, we'll remove one thing. And they go, okay, well, this still needs to go. And they're like, okay, we'll remove that. And then they're like, no, but this too. And then they're like, okay, we're just going to get rid of all of it. All of it. Cool. Go back to the basics. So I feel like just going forward, it just needs to be any update that happens goes to pubs, doesn't go to comps. Do not put it in competitive. Leave competitive alone. You can leave like the railgun if you want to. I know they got rid of it, but you can leave it if you want to. You can make some small map changes. That's fine. But like, don't put any UFO style things, broken guns, like, the mothership game in the beginning. Like, just put that in pubs only.
Okay, so here's my problem with that. I think there should be maybe two different versions of the game. One that emphasizes comp, one that emphasizes pubs. I think that's probably wise. Here's my problem with here's a new season and we're going to now remove everything from comp. I don't know if you've played comp. I think you're still going in the alien ship quite a bit. Played comp. Really enjoy the experience. Really love, when you eliminate somebody and a third party comes, you get those heals. There's a lot of great things about what comp is doing. Obviously, incredible skill level, and these guys, are like fine tuning every small error and making them the perfect player. And so when they add something, it confuses that experience, right? Like all of a sudden there's something that hits you in between two walls and you're like, my experience is now changed to how I normally play. I am now being interrupted by me trying to be a World Cup champion by this new weapon. Now I understand the frustration with that. I get that. But there's a part of me that kind of wishes that our comp players would fully embrace change rather than be frustrated by it. And here's why. And I think exploitation is why it's such a bummer. Somebody comes up with a really good strategy, gets into your box with that weapon, kills you, you're frustrated. I get that. But from a spectator standpoint, we have to remember that all of the money that comp makes is from spectators and normal people that play the game. If that is true, I am not going to want to watch, no matter how skillful you are, the same thing over and over and over again. Eventually, from a spectator standpoint, I am going to be bored because I'm not watching anyone innovate anymore. I'm just watching white builds until you pump somebody in the face. And I have seen that clip a million times to where when that clip goes live for anybody, less clicks, less excitement, less engagement, because I want to see an innovative way to utilize some of these really cool, strategically designed guns and items in a comp setting. And so that's what makes it frustrating to me, is like, I don't think comp players get that piece, that like you're probably just going to go to the next game if you are too frustrated with it. But I would love to see comp players fully embrace the reality of like, when people watch me and I come up with a really creative way to eliminate somebody and change the meta of the game, that I was the person who did that. I paved the way for that. That's like a really exciting thing. But I think it's always brought up in a very negative light because it's either not polished enough for comp or can't be handled by some of the servers, which causes a lot of this drama. And I feel like if they can get their servers to work better and it's more polished for a comp experience, we won't have to release a new season and then take everything away from it again. And that's my biggest claim. I just think like we need to find a marriage of the two without making comp super boring for people to watch, and pubs and it not being a pub experience that like ruins the comp vibe. And I think like that can happen. I just don't think there's enough resources being spent to make it happen.
Yeah, and to go with your point, because it does make a lot of sense. What is the one clip that is the most recycled and used or watched from a competitive standpoint? It was when Psalm had the sword.
Totally. 100%.
Right?
Yep.
That was the most like clickbait. Everybody saw it of like Fortnite competition when he came in and killed like 30 people with the sword.
Yeah.
And from a spectator standpoint, that is hilarious, and that's what you want to see. But from the competitor standpoint, they're just like, "What are you doing?"
Exactly. So
it is fair to have that point that you do need to switch it up. I just think they need to be careful about. Look, comp players are going to cry regardless of what happens because they just don't want change. So I think it's okay to like make them change. That's totally fine. They're going to cry regardless. I just think it's smart to be like, hey, you know what? We just won't put UFOs in this playlist.
Yeah.
You know, at the beginning of the season, not like 2 weeks into it.
But also there's the argument, like, why not have the UFO just have one life and it blows up immediately? Like why
regenerate it?
Right. Like there's other ways to deal with it that'll still create a really fun clip moment. Like honestly, we've have this whole new season and comp feels like it has nothing. Like it doesn't have anything new added to it. All of it was taken. Yeah. And so we're watching season 4 comp or season 2, whatever it is, you know, like comp, like, and nothing has been changed other than a map POI and to a spectator experience for comp games. No one's there for that, you know. Like, I want to see what happens when somebody gets abducted into the ship and they're all going for gold, but they're all really talented, and then they get frustrated. Somebody loses, and now what do? They can go anywhere on the map. Are they going to get chased? All these different things, right? Like, I think it would just be so cool if comp players were like, let's embrace that reality. Let's obviously craft it to make it sense for comp, but like, let's not like, let's not just be so exclusive to where like you guys are going to be playing in your own pod over there and very little people are going to pay attention to you because it's the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But those are my thoughts. I feel like they can make this work, and I really want them to, but I there has to be an overlap, I think, in some ways.
Yeah.
I think that's all we have. That's all of our questions, PM. Is there anything else based off of what we were talking about that's worth talking through?
Stop landing at Rick when you get out of the ship so I can do it, please. That'd be great, because I'm so tired of I need to get the nuts and bolts for my AK, and then I land there and 7 other people do too.
Pave the way for him. Don't go there anymore, please. If you follow the podcast. Well, PM, thank you so much for being a part of this. If you guys don't know him, hopefully you got a little bit more of a snapshot. He's been vital to this being a success. on the podcast platform. You can follow him. I will be shouting him out on our Twitter. If you ever want to engage with us, please follow the UNVAULTED Podcast Twitter. It's a really huge way for us to have a dialogue and conversation about all this stuff that's going on. I used every question that was asked was from that Twitter itself. And yeah, I'd love to have this conversation going. We're going to have another podcast, hopefully a guest in 2 weeks. We are moving that the live date to what is today? Wednesday. Instead of Fridays. That'll be good just to have the content up for the weekend and all that good stuff. But yeah, should be a lot of fun to continue this conversation for season 7 and what happens with Batman, what happens with the ship, and of course, how the game is changing and unfolding as we go. Thank you for being a part of it. I'll talk to you all later. Have a good evening, afternoon, and night. See ya, nerds.